Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, Erica Poppelrider talks the economics of agricultural technology on the farm with K-State's Terry Griffin. And we meet the new Kansas FFA reporter, Hattie Polson. We also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission and Kansas Department of Agriculture, plus the weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
In agricultural news from agview.net, during the cattle industry summer business meeting in Denver, they identified a policy that would help resolve concerns about live cattle marketing issues and lead the industry to a more robust price discovery. NCBA's Live Cattle Marketing Committee considered several proposals, each aimed at encouraging greater volume of negotiated trade. After an intense debate, the committee and the NCBA Board of Directors unanimously passed a policy that supports voluntary efforts to improve negotiated trade with the potential for mandates in the future if robust regional negotiation trade numbers are not reached by the industry. Two other market-related policy changes were adopted. A resolution supporting creation of a cattle contract library was approved. Also, livestock mandatory reporting policy was amended to support withholding weekly price reports when certain levels of negotiated trade were not achieved. Additional policy discussions were held throughout the week during various other committee meetings. Now, a resolution submitted by the Kansas Livestock Association and other state affiliates supporting the expansion and further development of U.S. cattle trace was adopted. The U.S. cattle trace, an industry-driven animal disease traceability system. Well, Chinese buyers made a record purchase of U.S. corn recently that extended a recent flurry of U.S. purchases as tensions continue to grow between the two largest economies in the world. USDA says China bought 1.937 million tons of corn from private exporters. That'll be delivered in the 2021 marketing year. That purchase worth around $325 million. It passed up previous record of 1.76 million tons that was reported earlier in July. In another report, USDA said soybean sales to China rose to 1.925 million tons for the week that ended July 23rd. That was the biggest weekly total since November of 2016. Now, China's purchases of American farm goods totaled $6 billion through May, while the Phase 1 trade deal agreement calls for a total of $36.5 billion in purchases this year. While the $6 billion is 9.1% higher than the same period last year, it's 31% lower than the same time in 2017. And the Agricultural Fairs Rescue Act was introduced in Congress to help preserve agricultural fairs across the nation. The bipartisan legislation also designed to help fairs recover from large financial losses that they've suffered because of COVID-19. A large number of fairs across the country didn't take place this summer because of safety concerns. This bill would provide up to $500 billion in grant funding for agriculture fairs throughout state departments of agriculture to help them function well into the future. More on these and other stories at agview.net. Stay with us. More coming up.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Erica Popplewriter here, and joining us today is Terry Griffin, who is the Kansas State Research and Extension Cropping Systems Economist. And you are the expert of experts on precision technology, and specifically you've been exploring the adoption process and what that looks like. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we've been evaluating the adoption of agricultural technology, specifically in Kansas, for the last 5 years. The Kansas Farm Management Association is a long-term service that many farmers, several thousand in Kansas, who have been participating in for many decades. And 5 years ago, we started asking the question, what technology do you have on this farm, and when did you adopt it? And one of our most recent studies that was released a few months ago in a journal called Agricultural Finance Review evaluated how long it takes farmers to adopt a technology after the technology becomes commercially available. And early on, some of the data technologies such as yield monitors and grid soil sampling took longer. Some of the more recently developed technologies were automated section control, automated guidance, and those types of technologies weren't as difficult to use. They actually made life better, or even reduced skill sets required to make it work were adopted a lot sooner. And we knew this, so we dove down and looked at some financial characteristics of those farms who adopted and who didn't adopt, as well as the age of the farm. So in the KFMA data set, the Kansas Farm Management Association data set, we know the year that the operator was born, and some of those farms are sole proprietors, just one person making management decisions. Some of the operations had multiple farm operators making management decisions, and we know the age, the birth year of each of those. So we started looking into the age aspect. So in popular culture, we hear this. In the workplace, you have this friction between millennials and baby boomers, or Generation X with the silent generation who were born before World War II. So we asked that question of the data, are there some dynamics within the multiple operator farms that were interesting? And a few of the things that we learned was that if there's a younger farm operator, such as a millennial or some Generation X, on the same farm as as an older generation, such as baby boomers and silent generation, they tended to have more technology than sole proprietor farms with either of those groups. Granted that multiple operator farms tend to have larger acreage, but we're looking at, you have financially secured older operators of the silent and baby boomer generations with younger generation operators who tend to like to have more technology, and we see this in popular culture as well. But applying this to agriculture, specifically Kansas farms, we're seeing a really interesting dynamic of millennials with older generations.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Popple writer here with Hattie, Polson, who is the Kansas FFA reporter. And this morning, she's going to talk a little bit about how FFA is navigating COVID this fall and even this past spring. So thanks for joining us this morning, Hattie.
Yeah, of course. So jumping back a little bit to state convention last May, this was the first ever entirely virtual state convention. And while that does seem different, I mean, everything's different right now, it was the first time where every member in Kansas was able to attend state convention, which I think is pretty cool. So we were able to have pre-recorded speakers that we were able to live stream and view from the comfort of our own homes, and as well as electing this next year's officer team, which is also something pretty cool. We're the first officer team that was ever elected through an entire virtual setting.
So you clearly went through that process since you're now the reporter. What was that like?
You know, it was very interesting. We had a lot of pre-recorded components. So I was giving a speech to my computer in my bedroom that was going to be shown to hundreds of members, which is something weird to comprehend at the time. You're just talking to your computer. But we also had to go through an interview process that was conducted via Zoom, and then you're going to have technical difficulties. So I ended up conducting part of my interviews over a phone, which is something that I never thought I would have to do.
Well, you clearly did well, because here you are today.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, you know, I was an FFA member in high school, and I remember all of the excitement about going to convention or going to Green Hand Conference and all the contests. And clearly there's a lot of things going on this fall where those things just may not happen in the same format that they used to. How are you guys sort of, scenario planning for those situations?
You know, there was definitely a moment right after we got elected where we looked at these obstacles and challenges and immediately turned them into opportunities. So we're looking at virtual competition CDs and LDEs. That was something that happened last May, but it's something we want to implement this fall because FFA holds true and we want to continue that normalcy. But as for conferences, we are still conducting them. Actually, this next week, we are going to have the District Officer Conference, and it will be entirely virtual. So that's something that me and my team are going to look into, having pre-recorded bits that we can send to get people excited because we aren't in person, but also have those meaningful conversations, maybe over Zoom or a FaceTime or an email, but really emphasizing on connectivity with members, even if we can't be face-to-face, but finding ways to stay connected and sort of institute a sense of normalcy during all of these crazy times.
So if you have one word of advice to share with FFA members about how to continue keeping up those leadership skills while we may be remotely, what would some advice be?
I would say to stay involved and to talk. Shoot us an email, shoot us a text. We would love to talk to you. I think it's important during these times that we continue to communicate so that we can keep moving forward. So I guess my one word would be communication. I think that's going to be vital during all these times.
Excellent advice from the Kansas FFA reporter, Hattie, Polson. Thanks again for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn. For livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
2020 is a big year for the American Soybean Association. The association celebrates its first soy century of success this year. That's 100 years of promoting soybeans, capitalizing on soy's opportunities, and advocating for growers through lobbying. It all began back in September 1920 when the Fouts brothers, Taylor, Finus, and Noah, hosted 1,000 farmers from 6 states at their Soyland farms in Camden, Indiana. Soybeans were an emerging commodity at the time, and the gathering provided an opportunity to share more about the crop. From there, the National Soybean Growers Association, or what we now know as the American Soybean Association, formed. Taylor Fouts served as the first president of the association. The purpose of the association evolved over time from the early days of sharing growing and marketing practices to today's model of advocating on behalf of growers. The American Soybean Association has been a key player in developing international markets, improving soybean value, serving as the voice of growers in creation of legislation, and leading a growing network of state associations. ASA returned to its birthplace in Camden on August 4th to celebrate its 100th and commemorate the milestone through dedication of a historical marker at the Soyland Farm site. For more on the association's history, check out www.asa100years.com. In other ASA news, the deadline to apply for the Conservation Legacy Awards is approaching September 1st, and the application for the Corteva Young Leaders Program is posted. Find more about these awards at www.soygrowers.com.
When your college career begins, you'll have the opportunity to build upon your skills. One of those opportunities could be joining a collegiate Farm Bureau chapter. With programs at 19 2- and 4-year schools around the state, you can't go far without the possibility of joining a chapter. They provide opportunities to meet new friends and mentors, build leadership skills, and experience statewide events and gain eligibility for scholarships. Want to learn more? Visit www.kfb.org/collegiate.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Department of Agriculture, one of our primary missions is to protect animal health. And this summer, we have seen some real challenges occur in several species and various industries across the state. The most obvious issue of concern has been the outbreak of vesicular stomatitis virus, which began in south central Kansas but rapidly spread to many counties and well over 100 premises which have been affected. The efforts to slow the spread of this virus, which primarily affects horses but can also affect other species including cattle, has brought to the topic of biosecurity to the forefront of conversations for all of us at KDA, as well as for all animal owners. Biosecurity means doing everything you can to reduce the chances of an infectious disease being carried onto your farm by people, animals, equipment, or vehicles. It also means doing everything you can to reduce the chance of disease leaving your farm. Whether there is a known outbreak of an animal disease or not, it's always wise to follow best practices for biosecurity on your farm or ranch. A few changes to your daily routine can make a big difference. First, consider limiting access to your property and livestock to only those who need to be on the property. If you have visitors, restrict their access to a public area, and if they do need to be near livestock or poultry, make sure they have clean footwear. Second, make sure your footwear, clothing, equipment, and vehicles are cleaned regularly, especially when returning to your property after visiting other farms, auctions, fairs, or shows. Third, don't bring unwanted disease home. Separate new animals, or those which have been at exhibitions or shows, for 30 days before exposing them to the rest of your herd or flock. Fourth, monitor your animals for symptoms, especially if there are known diseases in the area, and notify your veterinarian if you note any concerns. These are just a few of the ways Kansas farmers and ranchers can help protect our livestock, horses, and poultry. Thanks for doing your part in keeping Kansas agriculture safe and healthy.
No one plans to get sick or injured. But when life happens, it's important you and your family are protected. Kansas Farm Bureau health plans are there to provide continued health care coverage to meet your needs. Choose from a broad range of individual and family plans. And if you're over 65, we have options for you too. Learn more at kfbhealthplans.com or contact a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent near you.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
The Beef Industry Long Range Plan Task Force officially introduced its new 5-year plan for 2021 through 2025 during the Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting held in late July. The Long Range Plan, updated every 5 years, is a tool designed to help the beef industry establish a common set of objectives and priorities. It communicates the beef community's strategic direction and provides insight on how the industry can serve its stakeholders by growing beef demand. The 6 core strategies set forth in the plan include driving growth in U.S. beef exports, developing and implementing better business models to improve price discovery and value distribution across all segments, growing consumer trust in beef production, promoting and capitalizing on the multiple advantages of beef, safeguarding and cultivating investment in beef industry research, marketing, and innovation, and improving the business and political climate for beef. Various goals have been established within the perimeters of each of these priorities to help measure success. For example, one of the benchmarks for driving growth in beef exports will be to increase the value of U.S. beef exports as a percent of total beef value to 21% by 2025. The task force convened several times over the past year and considered all aspects of the industry, including production trends, economic factors, foreign markets, consumer trends, and the competitive climate. To view the complete plan, visit beeflongrangeplan.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Good morning. My name is Aaron with Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom, and I am here to talk about the cash grain markets. Corn basis here has been relatively steady recently. Areas around the end users, such as southwest Kansas feeders, have seen good values that are pulling bushels from across western Kansas. The upcoming crop is looking very good almost everywhere, and with timely rains we have been seeing, we don't foresee many issues coming up. USDA had corn in the dough stage at 22%, 5% above the 5-year average. The condition was 72% good to excellent, well in front of last year at this time, 58% good to excellent. As we get closer to harvest, I would look to see basis get weaker as this huge crop progresses. Soybean basis has been very tight in eastern Kansas and Missouri areas, and good push has been hard to come by. Like the corn, beans are looking excellent and have been seeing some great rains to help them along. USDA has soybeans setting pods at 43%, 7% above the 5-year average. Conditions improved this week, and the year over year 72% good to excellent, ahead of last year at 54% good to excellent. As with this corn basis doesn't seem like it has a real great reason to get stronger with the great crop coming up for us. Strong export demand and purchases might be what helps us with this. Wheat basis continues to be interesting for now and has been given some people some good opportunities to make some sales. Protein premiums are out there for people to take advantage of, but they have to have protein in their wheat, and knowing that definitely pays off. Milo basis, both good and old, very attractive right now. If you have Milo in the bin or growing Milo for this fall, please look at some basis values and consider getting some sold. If you have any questions or are looking for help getting values for your grain or are wanting other selling advice, please give us a shout at 888-452-8751.
Well, that's our show this week. You can be social with us by going online at KansasAgReport.net. Like us on Facebook, Kansas Ag Report Television Show, and follow us on Twitter at Kansas Ag Report. Be strong, be vigilant, and be kind. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.